Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, at Warcheck if you want to call me by my in-game name, and we've got some exciting stuff to go over today. Finally, Blizzard has announced what the next Hearthstone expansion is going to be, and it's going to be the Boomsday project. Everybody was thinking it was going to involve Nagrand somehow or be in Nagrand based on some stuff that they had released prior to this announcement. But it looks like it is the Netherstorm, which was the most northeast, I believe, region of the Outlands. Unfortunately, I didn't really spend a lot of time in this area when I was leveling. I spent most of my time in Nagrand, along with the majority of the other player base. But anyway, super cool area from what I've seen and what they've released so far. They have a trailer. If you haven't all seen it, I'm going to put the link to where to go to find everything about it, plus whatever I'm going to explain in the description below. But they have some cards for us to look at, some new mechanics, and some exciting new things that we haven't seen before, but stuff I've actually mentioned quite a bit. If you watched any of my Hearthstone content in this past year, a lot of things, particularly one thing that they are now doing is something I've been mentioning needs to happen for a long time now and would be super cool, which we'll get to in a little bit. So the first card they talked about is going to be the Spider Bomb. It's also going to be highlighting the new kind of mechanic that's going to be introduced into the game. So we have a 3-mana 2/2 mech. Mechs are back, boys. Mechs are back. He has a magnetic, and then its death rattles destroy a random enemy minion. So magnetic. A magnetic mech. All right, so when you play a magnetic minion next to another mech, so it has to be two mechs next to each other, it'll actually fuse the two mechs together, combining their stats and combining their abilities. So basically, whenever you put the Spider Bomb next to any other mech, you give that death rattle, destroy a random enemy minion, along with 2+2 in stats. So depending on your situation, sometimes you want to combine minions, sometimes you don't want to combine minions. As we know, a more diversified board, it gives you a little bit more of an advantage if someone has cards like Polymorph, Hex, single target removal, but is more vulnerable to, small scale AoE, such as like Lightning Storm, Arcane Explosion, and things like that. So it's going to depend on the situation whether a magnetic is going to be, something you want to use or something you want to stay away on based on the matchup. But still really cool. Definitely makes perfect sense. Mechs having some magnetic ability, combining mechs together, making one giant mech. I think it's super cool. Definitely in the realm of what Hearthstone has been known to do in regards to cool stuff like that. The next card we're going to talk about, so magnetic, the first thing, and then second one, oof, it's gonna be good. You guys are gonna like it. The next card we're gonna look at is going to be Biology Project. Nothing really too crazy here. It's a 1 mana. Each player gains 2 mana crystals, which is more than one, which is the same quote they used in the short film that they announced this expansion and cards in. Definitely going to be a druid card. As we know, druids have been involved with using a lot of ramp in the early game, but this actually, both players gain 2 mana crystals. So it's not just, you're not wild growthing on 2, you're not nourishing on 5, and when nourish, gain 2 mana crystals for the druid, wild growth gain 1 mana crystal. Well, this affects both players. It gives them both equal opportunity to be able to play decent sized minions and or spells because you're both ramping. So I think this is a pretty fair card. I think it's the only way they could really print like if this was obviously a 1 mana gain 2 mana crystals and it only was for one player, that would be completely crazy. They could have printed it, you gain 2 mana crystals, your opponent gains 1, so you get like basically twice as much ramp, but you still give your opponent a little bit more ramp. But I think it's fair. I'm not sure what deck this will see playing, obviously, because like I don't know, obviously like some sort of big druid, but like big druid, it's you normally ramp in the early game and then you don't have to worry about, I don't know. I just feel like ramping your opponent is never good. Unless you're playing an aggro deck, but then why would you be wanting to ramp in an aggro deck if everything's cheap in the deck? So we'll see. So the next card we're going to talk about, Omega Defender. So this is another sort of ability that's going to be coming, and it's called the Omega Project, I believe. And he used, it was, yes, I believe they specifically said it was the Omega Project. And he's a normal, just, 4 mana, 2/6 taunt. Not terrible. He's the same as the Spike Ridge Steed. No, that's the actual paladin card. Anyway, the spiked steed, I don't know, it's the card that comes off of Spike Ridge Steed. Not really seen in competitive play, but still not a bad taunt. And it says Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystals, gain plus 10 attack. So he turns into a 12/6 for 4 mana. If you got 10 mana crystals, and obviously the card we saw before this, the biology project, ramps you to 10 mana crystals faster. But you know, if both players are playing cards like this in their deck, then you're just expediting, you know, playing giant minions. So there's a couple things I want to cover with this card. Having Ike, I like cards with the ability to play them earlier on, have minimal impact, play them later on and have huge impact. Like, so do you want to save this card for later, or do you want to play it now? It can be used in two parts of the same game very, very differently. Very similar to cards like Spellstone. They grow over time, they're bad in the beginning, they get better in the end. But still, a 1 mana deal 2 damage like the Druid Spellstone is still going to be able to kill a Flame Imp turn 1 if your opponent's playing Zoo, or you could save it for later until it does 6 damage and be able to kill something a little bit bigger. So, you know, there's some variety there. Do you want to use it small or go big? This card, kind of the same effect here. You can play it in the early game, not as impactful, but still a minion, still good against an aggro deck, right? Still a 2/6 taunt. They still have to get through it. Still probably going to take a minion or two to get rid of it. Or if you're playing against a control deck, wait till later game, keep playing these giant, you know, anywhere between 4 to 6 mana giant minions, and they're going to run out of removal, right? So this is only the first of this kind of, you know, if you have 10 mana crystals, get this giant ability. But what comes with cards like this, if people are going to stray towards the, you know, let's wait for 10 mana, let's play a whole bunch of giant minions, silence is going to pop back up, a lot of silence, because as this being a battle cry, you're going to be able to silence this minion back down to its original state because it is considered a buff. Big Game Hunter, you know, with Big Game Hunter, not really seeing a ton of play now because there's not, you know, there's not a huge amount of minions over 7 mana that you're going to see that, you know, a normal polymorph, a Hex, Meteor, Twisting Nether, Siphon Soul, stuff like that can't deal with. You know, if we're going to see half a deck stuffed with minions like this, where they can still be played in the middle of the game, which makes them viable. Because if this was just a 4 mana, can't be played until you have 10 mana, and then it goes into a 10/6 or a 12/6, probably not as usable. But the fact that you can play this, you know, turn 4 and or up till turn 10 makes it very kind of cool. Anyway, definitely gonna see a lot more Big Game Hunter, a lot more silence, a lot more minion removal if this is the case, and they print a lot more cards like this, which is fine. It just makes the games push a little bit more toward the late game, a lot more control-y. You know me, I love control-y. All right, so the next card we're gonna cover, legendary spells. So each class is going to be getting their own legendary spell. If you've been, like I said, if you've been watching any of my content for the past, I want to say 6 months to a year, you've heard me numerous times talk about classes. Why don't they release legendary spells for classes, or release legendary spells for classes? Hey, why don't we release legendary spells for each class in every expansion, just like they do legendary minions? Holla Bear, hallelujah, how you doing? Legendary spells coming at you live here in 2018. So we have the Unstable Element. It's a 5 mana rogue legendary. Draw the rest of your deck. Let me read that one more time, in just case you didn't hear me. Draw the rest of your deck. So obviously a very powerful card, almost too powerful, because if you play this on turn 5, you will mill the rest of your deck. You will literally draw to the end of your deck, mill all of the cards, and you will be out of cards. So I'm not sure when the proper time to play this is. Maybe when you only have, you know, 10 to 5 cards left and you're looking for that, you know, Cold Blood or a Vis or a Leroy to finish off the game. So it's like, you know, do I take the risk? Do I don't take the risk? And then also, like, is there going to be a deck that, you know, it says for every card you've milled, or like resurrect cards that you've milled, or like take cards that you've milled and put them back into your deck, so you actually can use this, and then the cards that you've milled you're able to shuffle back into your deck if you had played a card, or every card that you mill shuffle back in. I don't know, and maybe they'll put in stuff like that, maybe they won't. But super powerful ability, but just like, it may be actually too good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to use this when half your deck is there, because you're going to draw, let's say you have 5 cards in your hand, you draw 5 cards for 5, but then you have no cards left in your deck. So it's a very high price The high premium right here. High premium. I mean, even that guy, look at the artwork of this card. He's like, I like this crystal. I want to hold this crystal, but he looks like he's literally going to explode by holding the crystal. So, super cool card. I want to know what the other legendary spells are, to be honest. Obviously, the mage one is going to be some sort of like generate random mage spells, which it's always every new big costing mage card has always been generate random thingies. So I don't think they could make one that does damage, to be honest, unless it's only minion damage. They probably, all right, maybe the new legendary mage thing will be minion damage, because like meteor and stuff will be rotating at the beginning of next year. And meteor is really important, but they still have flame strike and blizzard, so I don't know. They won't make another pyroblast type thing. They already have fireball at 4. It'll be interesting what the mage one is. The warrior one will probably have something to do with armor, but all right, the next card we're gonna look at, the legendary shaman super. Oh my god, the power level of this card. Electra Storm Surge, a 3-mana 3/3 elemental. You're like, Rob, it's not that powerful. It looks super cool though. Battle Cry, your next spell this turn casts. Let me repeat that. So he's basically a rumbling elemental for your spells for 1 more mana and decent stats. So 6 mana, Storm Surge, double healing raid, Storm Surge, Lava Burst, Storm Surge, Bloodlust. Like, there's so many good shaman cards that really don't cost, like, she's 3 mana and you don't need to play the card twice. It's not like it's, you know, giving it a, what is it called? Echo. Holy shit, I've been playing with Echo for like 3 to 4 months. Play with it and almost tons of my decks can't even think of the word. Anyway, I'm sorry. It doesn't give the cards Echo, right? So it's not like you have to play Bloodlust, and you only can pick spells that are cheap. Like, you literally, most of the shaman spells you're going to be able to play after you've played this Storm Surge. So I'm sure this card is going to be, well, in my opinion, fit into any sort of aggro deck. It's obviously not going to be able to fit into even decks, but definitely going to fit into any sort of aggro shaman that pops up. It can fit into mid-range shaman and control shaman. This card is just good in general. In my opinion, this is a nice one. But that's only if the decks run cards that like the spells benefit from. So like right now, if we look at like even shaman, the deck only runs Hex, right? So if the deck only runs Hex, obviously a card like this, Storm Surge, doesn't really do anything. Shudder Shaman, I suppose it could be played in Shudder Shaman because you could play this with Farsight. You could play this with Lightning Storm, Healing Rain, Volcano. For 8 mana, deal 30 to everything on the board. Yeah, I don't see how this card is just ever bad. Worst case scenario, it's a 3 mana 3/3, which isn't terrible. It's like having a Gluttonous Ooze that didn't hit a weapon. And a lot of people like Gluttonous Ooze. I love Gluttonous Ooze. I run 2 Gluttonous Oozes all the time. I Gluttonous Ooze it up. So, fantastic card here. Fantastic card. The last card we're going to look at is actually not really a card that they released, but it was like off to the corner. They like panned to it and they're like, oh, not that one, not that one. And then they panned back to it. So, Warrior Legendary. I don't know what it's going to be. It looks pretty cool. I mean, look at the artwork on that bad boy. If that card sucks, if they give Warrior another shitty Legendary, I swear to fucking God, Blizzard, come down there and smack you myself. Warriors deserve good. Give me the good. My warrior deserves it. So it's going to be Dr. Boom Mad Genius or Dr. Mad Genius. Obviously, the last word is genius. The first two letters are DR, and then there's mad in there. So it's going to be Dr. something with the word mad, or I don't know. What do you guys think of this? Of this spooge cannon right here? This is looking real good, chat. Real good. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with armor. Maybe some AoE. Maybe some minion generation. Gonna be good. So with that, that's all of the cards that they covered on the announcement today, the expansion will be releasing August 7th, I believe is the date that they pulled it up. I'll link to the I'll link put Man, I'm having a hard time speaking today, so I'm going to put the link to all of the information in the description, like I said before. The release is the 7th, and then on top of that, more cards will be announced and coming to you guys starting July 23rd is when their release season will be, and that'll be up until, of course, the expansion goes live. So with that, thank you for watching. Really looking forward to spicing up some meta with some mechs. Mechs. It's gonna be good, and I'll see you in the next episode and or on stream. As always, guys, thanks for watching and have a wonderful day, and happy whatever the hell day it is. What the hell is wrong with me?